Ever get that feeling like AI is right on our heels? Like it's really starting to catch up with us humans?
Yeah, for sure.
Well, buckle up because today we're diving headfirst into the world of AI that's not just reading our grocery lists,
Mm-hmm.
but actually starting to understand our visual world too.
It's true.
It's like AI is finally grasping those aha moments that,
Hmm.
let's face it, we humans often take for granted.
Yeah, and we're going way beyond just basic image recognition here.
Right.
We're talking about AI that can process complex information from both text and images.
The best of both worlds.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Weaving them together to, like, solve problems and really understand situations on a deeper level.
So we're talking about AI that can not only read, but also see the world around it, much like we do.
Exactly.
This all sounds incredibly complex.
It is.
So to help us unpack it all, we're diving into a 2024 research paper hot off the presses.
Very new.
It's from some brilliant minds over at UNC Chapel Hill and Microsoft Research.
Great team.
And they've created this new benchmark called MMIE. Ugh, try saying that 5 times fast.
I know, right?
Think at me.
It stands for Massive Multimodal Interleaved Comprehension Benchmark for Large Vision Language Models.
Catchy, right?
Definitely one for the AI acronym Hall of Fame.
For sure.
But in all seriousness, MMIE is kind of a big deal.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So why don't you tell us more about it?
Okay, so imagine for a second you're trying to, teach a computer to understand the world
Okay.
the way we do. It's not just about recognizing, oh, there's a chair in that image,
Right.
or processing words in a sentence. It's about understanding those, really intricate relationships between all of those different pieces.
Yeah, it's like the difference between knowing the definition of sarcasm
Right.
and actually getting why someone's being sarcastic.
Yes, exactly.
It's all about their tone, their facial expressions, the entire context.
The whole 9 yards.
Yes.
And that's exactly what MMIE is trying to assess in AI.
Okay.
Can these AI models, or LVLMs as they're called, which stands for Large Vision Language Models,
Can they go beyond just recognizing those individual elements and actually grasp the meaning that comes from this super cool interplay of text and images?
Okay, so we've got our AI students, we've got our textbook, but what does this test actually look like?
Yeah, that's a good question.
How do you even begin to measure something as complex as, well, understanding the world?
Right. It's a really good question.
Yeah.
And that's where MMIE gets really interesting.
Okay.
So they've designed a series of tasks that are specifically made to really challenge these AI models on their ability to process information from all these different modes. So text, images, and how they all relate to each other.
So it sounds like MMIE is less about multiple choice and more like an obstacle course for AI.
Yeah.
What sort of hurdles are we talking about?
Yeah, it's a great analogy.
Thanks.
This benchmark covers a crazy 20,000 questions
Wow.
spread across 12 diverse fields.
12?
From, the concrete worlds of like math and physics to the more abstract realms of like art and literature.
Wow, 12 fields. That's like saying you're not only going to test how well someone can bake a cake,
Right.
but also how well they could compose a symphony.
Yes.
You got it.
Like very diverse.
That's a lot.
It's about pushing these AI models to their limits
Okay.
and seeing how they handle this wide range of tasks that require them to, think.
Yeah, kind of like we do.
So tell me more about these tasks.
Yeah.
What specifically is going to reveal whether these AIs are up to the challenge?
Okay, so MAE focuses on 3 main types of tasks. First up, we've got situational analysis.
Okay.
So imagine showing an AI a bunch of images and text snippets. It has to decipher, what's going on in the situation, even what emotions are involved.
Oh, wow.
So, understanding why someone might be afraid of clowns
Oh, no.
just by looking at a photo and a caption about, a childhood experience.
So it's not just about recognizing there's a clown in the picture. It's about understanding the emotional baggage that comes with it.
Yes,
That's
exactly.
heavy stuff. What's next? Then we've got project-based learning, which is all about following instructions
Okay.
that involve both text and images. Think of it like assembling furniture.
Oh, no. IKEA instructions.
Yeah. Those instruction manuals that seem designed to confuse you.
Yes.
But the AI is doing it digitally, of course.
So, if I showed it pictures of ingredients and steps from a recipe, it would know to preheat the oven before mixing the batter. Not that I would know to do that.
Exactly.
Hypothetically, of course.
Hypothetically. It's about understanding the sequence of events
Okay.
and the relationship between those visual clues and the instructions.
I've started to realize how much we as humans take these skills for granted.
For sure. Go.
Okay, what is the third and final challenge these AIs have to conquer?
All right, so the third category is multi-step reasoning.
Okay.
And this is where things get really, really mind-bending.
Okay.
This is where the AI has to solve problems that require logic and the ability to combine those visual clues with text information. So, for example, figuring out how many people are left in a room after a series of, like, entrances and exits
Okay.
based on both, like a description of what happened and a diagram.
So it's like a logic puzzle, but instead of just words, you've got visual elements that factor into the solution.
Exactly.
Oh, man, I'm getting anxiety just thinking about it.
Right.
Okay, so we've got our AI contestants. We've got our obstacle course with its 3 main challenges.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we score something this complex? How do we even begin to evaluate it?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it was a key challenge for the researchers, too.
Yeah.
Evaluating something as nuanced as understanding.
Right.
It isn't as simple as just grading a multiple-choice test.
Right.
They needed a way to measure how well these AI models were truly grasping these relationships between text and images.
So what did they come up with?
Well, they actually trained another AI, another LVLM, to be their judge.
Oh, wow.
I know.
That's so meta.
It's very meta.
It's like AI judging AI.
So this specially trained AI actually scores the responses based on human-annotated examples.
Okay.
And this helps to make sure that the scoring is as fair and unbiased as possible.
Okay.
It can account for all those subtle nuances that, like, a simple algorithm might miss.
So it's like having a panel of AI experts observing the performance and delivering the verdict.
Exactly.
That is so clever. But I have to ask, how well did these LVLMs actually do on MMIE? Were they acing the test, or were they struggling to keep up?
Well, it's about that.
Don't leave me hanging. How did our AI students perform?
So even the best performing models only got around 65% on MME.
65%. Oof, that's one report card I wouldn't want to bring home. But seriously, that's a pretty far cry from, like, actual understanding, right?
It really is, and
Yeah.
it highlights how complex this whole multimodal comprehension thing really is.
Yeah.
It's one thing to, train an AI on all this data, tons of text and images,
Right.
but it's another thing entirely to teach it to really, truly understand that intricate dance between the two.
So where did these AI models struggle the most? Which of those MMIE hurdles really tripped them up?
Well, it's interesting. They generally did pretty well on those tasks that involve following instructions,
Okay.
that project-based learning category we were talking about.
Right, right.
But when it came to, situational analysis, like really understanding those connections
Yeah.
between the images, the text, the emotions,
Right.
that's where they really seem to, like, stumble a bit.
So even AI has a hard time with the nuances of human experience. I guess that means us humans are safe from the robot uprising for now.
Well, not quite.
Okay.
But it does show just how challenging it is to, replicate something as complex as human intuition
Right.
and emotional intelligence, all that, in a machine.
Okay. So they aced the furniture assembly but fumbled the emotional subtext.
That's a big way to put it.
Anything else that surprised you about how these AIs performed?
Yeah, so one really fascinating thing was that even within a category like project-based learning, where they generally did well, the AI models seemed to, like, have preferences, almost like strengths and weaknesses
Oh, interesting.
in different subjects, just like human students.
Oh, like how I can recite Shakespeare but can't do long division to save my life.
Exactly.
Well, I know.
The paper actually found that these AI models were consistently better at tasks in certain fields, like philosophy and art,
Okay.
compared to more complex areas like finance, which are more data-driven.
So AI has a knack for the existential but struggles with balancing a checkbook.
Right.
Makes you wonder if we're really all that different.
It's a funny thought, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what's really valuable here is that by analyzing these patterns, these AI strengths and weaknesses, researchers can start to figure out,
Yeah.
where these models need to improve.
So it's not just about giving them a grade, it's about actually providing, like, constructive criticism. Like, hey, AI, you aced that philosophy essay, but you really need to work on your data analysis skills.
Exactly. And the MMIE researchers, they didn't stop at just, like, grading the AI.
Right.
They actually dug into what kinds of errors they were making.
Oh, okay.
And they put them into 2 main buckets: temporal understanding issues and reasoning issues.
Okay, let's unpack those. What exactly are temporal understanding issues? It kind of sounds like our AI got stuck in a time warp or something.
Not quite that dramatic,
Okay.
but it basically has to do with how these AIs understand information over time.
Okay.
So imagine trying to understand a movie if someone just, like, randomly shuffled all the scenes around.
Right. It would be chaos.
It would make no sense, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of similar to what these AIs are dealing with when they struggle with this temporal understanding.
Okay.
They might, misinterpret when things happen or struggle to keep things coherent as, like, new information gets thrown into the mix.
So like that friend who's great at summarizing the first 5 minutes of a film,
Right.
but by the end, they're totally lost.
Excellent.
But it's all about connecting the dots over time.
Yes. Now, the second category, reasoning issues, that one's a little more straightforward.
Yeah.
These AI models, they sometimes struggle with those problems that require that multi-step logic
Right.
and that ability to bring together those visual clues with a text.
Okay, back to our bar charts for a second.
Yeah.
Is the AI basically just reading the labels on the chart and just like completely missing those giant bars that are like right there showing the actual data?
Yeah, sometimes. Actually, figure 5 in the Pacer
Okay.
gives a really good example of this.
Right.
The AI can, like, recognize that there's a bar chart, even identify what the labels say,
Okay.
but it just totally misses the significance of how high those different bars are.
So even in this world of super fancy AI, a picture is still worth 1,000 words,
Sometimes.
especially if you actually look at the picture.
Right.
Any theories on why this is happening? Are these AIs just like overwhelmed by all the data?
Yeah, there's probably a bunch of things all mixed together.
Yeah.
One theory is that these models might have a bias toward that textual information.
Oh, yeah.
Because, let's face it, that's mostly what they've been trained on up until this point.
Right.
It's like they're so focused on reading the instructions that they totally forget to actually look at the puzzle pieces in front of them.
It's a classic case of can't see the forest for the trees, but with AI and data. This is all fascinating stuff, but I have to ask, this whole MMIE thing, it's really got me thinking.
Yeah.
With its mind-bending tests and AI judges,
Right.
it feels like it's more than just a progress report on, how smart our AI is getting, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's not just about, like, checking off boxes and seeing how well they can do on a test.
Right.
It's about understanding what intelligence really is, like, at its core.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Okay.
Break it down for me.
So imagine this.
Okay.
MME is giving us this, like, sneak peek into how these AI models actually think.
Yeah.
How they process all this information, where they totally rock it, and where they, might need a little extra help.
Okay.
And by looking at all of that, all those successes, all those failures,
Yeah.
researchers can start to unravel these mysteries
Right.
of what intelligence really is,
Yeah.
both for us humans and for AI.
So it's like holding up a mirror to our own minds, even as we're trying to create these like brand new ones.
Exactly. And it makes you realize
Yeah.
just how complex our brains really are
Right. It's incredible.
and how much there is to learn.
Yeah, and all the challenges and opportunities that come with AI.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
This is humbling and exciting at the same time.
Totally agree.
Speaking of exciting, you mentioned earlier that these MMIE findings are going to help researchers to make LVLMs even better.
Right.
What kind of improvements are we talking? Paint me a picture of the future. What does this look like?
Okay, so picture this.
Okay.
A world where AI doesn't just, like, get the words in the pictures,
Yeah.
but it gets us. It understands our emotions.
Yeah.
All those little nuances. The stuff that goes unsaid, but that we pick up on as
Yeah,
humans.
right.
We're talking AI that can help us design better products that are actually easy and enjoyable to use. AI that can create art that is so impactful and so moving that it blows us away.
Wow.
Even AI that can help us analyze complex scientific data
Right.
in ways that we haven't even thought of yet.
It's like taking all the cool things that AI is already doing and adding the whole other level of like depth and understanding.
Exactly.
That's like mind-blowing.
It is mind-blowing.
And this isn't just some far-off sci-fi fantasy. This is happening now.
This is the groundwork.
Benchmarks like MMIE are paving the way.
Exactly.
This is an amazing time to be like keeping up with AI.
Oh, 100%.
I am so geeking out over here. And for our listeners who are like me, fascinated by this, want to learn more,
Yes.
the researchers actually made this whole MMIE benchmark available to the public.
They did, yeah.
They have a website. You can check it out. You can explore all this data, learn about the tasks.
See how those models did.
Maybe you'll be inspired to like contribute to this cutting edge field,
Yeah, definitely.
We'll include a link in the show notes.
Please do.
But before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a little something to think about.
Okay.
Food for thought as they go about their day.
I like it. Hit me.
We've been talking about how MME tests whether AI can understand our world, right?
Yeah.
But as these LVLMs get even smarter,
Right.
one has to wonder, will they start to see the world differently than we do?
That's a great question.
And what might they teach us about ourselves along the way?
Oh, that is a great question.
Yeah.
It seems like the future of AI isn't just about, smarter machines. It's about us understanding what intelligence even means.
And on that note, I think we'll leave it there for today.
Sounds good.
A huge thank you to our expert for breaking down the ins and outs of this whole MMI thing for us.
Happy to do it.
It was
It
amazing.
was fun.
And for our listeners, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, keep those minds curious.